Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 66, The Lake Bodom Murders. In 1960, near Espoo, Finland, 3 teenagers were killed while camping by Lake Bodom, and the survivor, Niels Gustafsson, gave conflicting accounts. Over the years, multiple suspects, including Gustafsson himself, were investigated, but no one has been conclusively convicted. Then the poisoned umbrella murder. Bulgarian dissident Georgi Markov was assassinated in 1978 in London. The murder involved a ricin-filled pellet injected into his leg, believed to have been fired from a specially designed umbrella. This assassination is widely attributed to Bulgarian secret services with alleged Soviet KGB assistance, but the exact identity of the assassin remains unknown. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 43. Boy in the Box mystery solved after 65 years. In 1957, a boy's body was found in a cardboard box in Philadelphia, sparking one of the nation's longest-running mysteries. Dubbed America's Unknown Child, his identity eluded investigators until 2022, when genetic genealogy revealed his name, Joseph Augustus Zarelli. A 65-year-old mystery finally solved: how a rock held the key to justice. In 1995, 17-year-old Crystal Beslanowicz was murdered in Utah, her case going cold for decades. Then, in 2013, a device called the MVAC extracted DNA from the murder weapon, a rock, leading to the arrest of Joseph Michael Simpson. Convicted in 2016, this case showcased the power of modern forensic technology. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 72. Murder in the Sanctuary. In 1974, Arliss Perry was found murdered in Stanford Memorial Church, her body arranged in a ritualistic way. The case went cold for decades until DNA in 2018 pointed to security guard Stephen Crawford, who took his own life as police arrived. A haunting mystery finally solved, yet its dark details still chill. The Silent Twin Pact. June and Jennifer Gibbons, identical twins, shared a secret language and an eerie bond. After years of strange behavior and psychiatric care, Jennifer died suddenly in 1993, seemingly fulfilling their pact that one must die to set the other free. The story of their haunting connection leaves us questioning the limits of the human mind. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 62. Unit 731's Human Experiments. During World War II, Japan's Unit 731 performed horrifying experiments on thousands of prisoners, including vivisection and biological weapon testing. Their atrocities were concealed after the war in exchange for their data, leaving a legacy of unimaginable horror and injustice. The Yuba County Five. In 1978, 5 men with mild intellectual disabilities went missing in Plumas National Forest, and their car was found abandoned. Months later, 4 bodies were discovered in bizarre conditions. One survived for weeks, but died of starvation. The 5th man was never found, leaving the case shrouded in mystery. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 10. The Slaughter of the McDonald Family. The youngest victim, 2-year-old Kristen, was stabbed 33 times, many of the wounds being inflicted on her face and neck. Her injuries were so severe that they suggested a brutal, deliberate attack, making her death one of the most shocking and horrifying aspects of the case. The Butcher of Hanover. Harmon lured his victims, often homeless boys or runaways, by offering them food, shelter, or work. Once in his home, he would overpower them and kill them by biting into their throats, a method he chillingly referred to as his love bite. The Lady of the Dunes. In 1974, the body of a woman was found on a beach in Massachusetts, severely beaten and decapitated. Despite extensive efforts to identify her, she remained a mystery until 2022. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 112. Brutal Betrayal by Friends. In 2005, 21-year-old Jennifer Cave was brutally murdered by her friend Colton Petoniak in Austin, Texas. After shooting her, Patagnac dismembered her body and hid the remains in his bathtub. He fled to Mexico, but was captured and sentenced to 55 years. His accomplice, Laura Hall, was convicted of tampering with evidence. The Nathari killings, horror in Noida. In Noida, India, domestic worker Surinder Kohli and his employer, Maninder Pandar, lured children into their home, where Kohli sexually assaulted, murdered, and dismembered them. Their remains were found hidden in drains. The case shocked the nation over police negligence. Kohli received a death sentence while Pandar was given life in prison. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 57. The Colonial Parkway Murders. Between 1986 and 1989, 8 people were murdered along Virginia's Colonial Parkway. Victims were often couples, found in or near their cars, and killed through strangulation, stabbing, or slashing. Despite some leads, the killer or killers remain unidentified, and the case is unsolved. The murder of Dorothy Jane Scott. Dorothy Jane Scott vanished in 1980 after taking a coworker to a hospital in Anaheim, California. 4 years later, her remains were found charred and buried. Before her murder, she received terrifying calls from an unknown stalker. Her case remains unsolved. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 35. The killer who flushed his victims, known as the Muswell Hill Murderer or Des. Nielsen was a Scottish serial killer and necrophile active in London between 1978 and 1983. He lured young men to his home where he killed them, dismembered their bodies, and disposed of remains in disturbing ways, including boiling body parts and flushing others down the drain. He was arrested after neighbors complained of clogged pipes. The Metal Drum Murderer. Bela Kiss was a Hungarian serial killer in the early 1900s. He lured women through personal ads, then killed them, draining their blood and preserving their bodies in metal drums filled with alcohol. Authorities discovered 24 corpses on his property in 1916 during World War I, but Kiss himself evaded capture and disappeared. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 106. Left for dead in a cornfield. In 1972, 15-year-old Julie borrowed her brother's bike and vanished. Her body was found in an Illinois cornfield, stabbed 36 times and sexually assaulted. The case went cold until 2021, when DNA linked 76-year-old Barry Whelpley, a former neighbor. Arrested after 50 years, Whelpley died in custody in 2024, leaving haunting questions unanswered. Chilling abduction and murder. In September 1988, 7-year-old Jacqueline DeWallaby was abducted from her Midlothian, Illinois home. Her body was discovered days later in Blue Island, showing signs of strangulation. Her parents, David and Cynthia, were arrested and charged with her murder in November 1988, but were later acquitted due to insufficient evidence. The true perpetrator remains unidentified. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 50. YouTube star or child abuser. Parenting YouTuber Ruby Franca and her partner Jody Hildebrandt were arrested after Franca's malnourished child escaped, bound with duct tape, and sought help. Police uncovered years of alleged abuse, including starvation and severe punishments. Once seen as a model parent, Frank now faces public outrage and serious charges. Bride's tragic death. Hours after her wedding in April 2023, South Carolina bride Samantha Miller was killed when a drunk driver crashed into the golf cart carrying her and her husband. The crash left him critically injured and sparked outrage. The driver, Jamie Komorowski, showed no remorse in court, turning this tragedy into a high-profile case against DUI. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 69. From Star to Murderer. Stephen Clancy Hill, known in the adult industry as Steve Driver, fatally attacked a colleague with a sharpened prop samurai sword in 2010. After a police standoff, he leapt to his death. Hill's story is one of rejection, mental illness, and violent revenge. Killer couple. Porn stars. Amanda Logue and Jason Andrews killed a man during an erotic massage in 2010. They bludgeoned him with a sledgehammer and looted his home. After fleeing, they were captured and sentenced, shocking their colleagues and fans of the adult film world. Grisly True Crime Facts Part 41, The Disappearance of the Springfield Three. On June 6, 1992, Susie Streeter, Stacy McCall, and Susie's mother, Cheryl Levitt, vanished without a trace from their Springfield, Missouri home. The two girls had just graduated high school and were last seen heading to Susie's house to sleep. The following morning, their belongings were found, but there was no sign of them. Despite decades of investigations, the case remains unsolved. The murder of Anastasia Repkina. In 2017, Anastasia Repkina moved to the U.S. for love, only to be murdered within weeks. Kevin Hargrove, her boyfriend, killed her following pressure from another woman he was involved with. Repkina's body was found in a forest among trash, and a KFC receipt helped link Hargrove to the crime. He was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Grisly True Crime Facts, Part 56, The Icebox Murders. In 1965, Houston police found Fred and Edwina Rogers' bodies dismembered and stuffed into their refrigerator. Their organs were removed, and the remains were butchered with surgical precision. Their son, Charles Rogers, vanished after the murders and became the prime suspect, but he was never found, leaving the case unsolved. The Texas Killing Fields. Since the 1970s, a desolate field along I-45 near Houston has been a graveyard for over 30 women. Victims were strangled, dismembered, or mutilated, their bodies left to rot in the isolated area. Despite several suspects and a few convictions, most cases remain cold.